Good evening to one and all. The School of Ancient Wisdom is happy to welcome all of you to yet another learning session this evening. We thank you for your participation and welcome all of you in the ongoing webinar series. As always, I would like to begin with our small prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. Today we have with us Mr. Yogeshvar. So, without any much delay, I would like to hand over this platform to him to engage us for the next 1 hour and request him to share his knowledge and insights with us. Thank you.
Right. Okay, we will start with my Mangalacharanam and then we proceed with the class. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat. Okay. In the last class, we were talking about Uparati or Uparama. And we finished with the concept of, an example of what they do these days for sensory deprivation, dopamine detox and all that. So that leads us to the next inner asset of Shama and Dhamma. The two, we will handle both of them together. They are like, like a pair. They always go together. Shama, Dhamma. So that's why they always say Shamadhamadi Sakya Sampati, Shamadhamadi Sakya Sampati. So Samadhama is always together. Like Viveka Vairagya, like that Shamadhama. So here, why it is an inner asset, why it is important, even though it is relevant for Vedanta, how it may also be relevant for all other goals, including worldly goals and spiritual goals, etc. How we can adapt it. Last class, we were exploring the necessity of keeping the benchmark, the traditional benchmark, the originally intended purpose for which a spiritual discipline is being recommended. And based on our limitation and shortcomings, how we can redefine and adapt that spiritual discipline in a way that is practically relevant for us, for applying for our life, which will eventually take us to the level that the tradition is talking about. The scriptures are talking about. So we saw that. So it is very important not to lose sight of the original purpose of the recommendation, original purpose of the spiritual discipline, and the original spiritual goal set by the Shastra, not to lose sight of that. At the same time, not to get depressed because I am nowhere close to that. So it is not relevant for me. I'm a worldly person. I am a normal person. I have everyday struggles to take care. So these are all too high philosophy for me. People usually do that. We always, try to, most of the people in active life, they try to brush all these spiritual goals aside. Many of the disciplines telling, oh, this is all meant for sadhus. It's all meant for Mahapurushas and, people who are fully to, I don't want to get into all that. This is all too much for us. They'll say, I am a grahastha, I am a corporate person, I am this, I am that. So maybe, this is too much for me, I should not. So they tend to get scared with the picture that the tradition and the Shastra gives. Many common people get scared. Even the beginners in spirituality, they start, some things are appealing, but when suddenly you come with Vairagya, Paravairagya, and Uparati and all that, they get scared. So that's not the point. The point is to understand. So this understanding is very useful. The tradition gives us the benchmark, that is the ideal, and the actual purpose of the practice is that the actual purpose of the practice in its intended, originally recommended form is what the Shastra says, but it can also be stepped down. We can create a step down version, simplified version, an easier version, a practically more relevant version for each one of us. So that is the point. That is mainly the point of this entire series that we are doing in the Nishta. It's because we need to bridge the gap between our reality and our restrictions and our limitations, our operational reality and the traditional standard, without losing sight of the purpose and the depth and the relevance of the traditional goals and the standards and the methods, still making them relevant for us and starting from where we are. So that is the whole point of it. That is how we bridge the gap. We always start from where we are and not lose sight of the goal, right? So with that framework and that perspective in mind, we will continue the discussion on Shama and Dama. Shama is mind control in a very simplified format. Okay, Shama, mind control. Dama, sense control. Dama, sense control. Shama, mind control. One version or one way of explaining Dama would be learning to master the instinctive movements, having a mastery over the instinctive tendency of our external sense organs and the internal sense faculties, Bahindriya and Antarindriya, that is the sense organs and the sense faculty. The eyes, the Golaka and the Indriya. The Golaka means the sense organ, eyes, for example. Without the eyes, the faculty of vision cannot perceive an object, cannot see an object. Right? So, what connects the faculty of vision to the object is the eye. So, this is a Golaka. Ears. This is a Golaka, the sense organ. The Indriya is the sense faculty, which is the faculty of vision, which is generally centered in the occipital lobe in the brain. Right? So, then you have the faculty of hearing. So the faculty of vision is connected to the organ of sight, which is eyes, the Golaka. Similarly, the faculty of hearing is connected to the ears. The faculty of touch is connected to the skin. The faculty of taste is connected to the tongue. The faculty of smell is connected to the nose. That is why the faculty of smell is there, but after somebody gets COVID, they are not able to smell. So they recognize that smell, the Indriya is working, but the Golaka has a block. That whatever is the bacteria, virus, it has blocked this nerve cells here. So even though, so I am recognizing the absence of the sensation. The Indriya recognizes, the faculty recognizes the absence of an input. So the smell input is not there, but the smell faculty is there. So after some time and after getting cured from the disease, after 2 or 3 weeks, suddenly the person is mildly starting to smell things. Oh yeah, I'm able to have, at least I'm able to see the strong smells. Mild smells I used to smell before, I'm not able to do now, slowly comes. So the Golaka starts getting better. Similarly, a person with some kind of, they have a corneal replacement. In the eyes, they remove the lens and put a new lens. Somebody donates an eye and they give an eye. The person is able to see. Why? Because the Golaka has a problem, but the Indriya is working. The Indriya is in the Sukshma Sarira or subtle body, and it is more connected with the mind. The Golaka is more connected with the body and the physical world. So, is what. So, in Dhamma or sense control, both aspects are to be taken care of. The sense organ is not allowed to dwell upon the object. You restrict the organ. Like how? I don't know if it is there anymore. When I was growing up, there used to be a lot of horse carts. This jetka, they say. So that horse cart is there. The horse will have something like this next to its eyes, so that it sees only the road and it doesn't get scared with all the traffic. So if he wants to go in the right side, he will pull the head of the horse. The horse will turn right, then it will see only here. It will turn left, it will see only here. Right? So it's like that. The horse is given an artificial dhamma. It's like restricting the golaka of that is the sense organ, so that it sees straight. Right? So dhamma is something like that. So we decide not to allow the sense organ to dwell upon. You have a tendency to look, it starts here. So this shama and dhamma, when we practice, it is at the both at the gross behavior and the subtle inner behavior, right? So it is a discipline that we cultivate. We have to understand. It is not that your sense organs are not seeking. The sense organs are not seeking the object is already uparati, and it is the next level where you are having a good vairagya inside and the mind is already mastered. They are not seeking anything outside anymore, means you already mastered it. This dhamma and the shama are relevant when we familiarize with the process and we are able to create a discipline of the sense faculties, so that within the restriction of the discipline, we develop an awareness over the cause of the sensory distraction. See? Because of the discipline, because of the restriction of the discipline, we create a context where the inner awareness over the cause of distraction becomes evident to our perception. We are right now, for a person who does not have dhamma, you are only aware of the urge. You are, let us say, it's like a kid going in a window. You take a kid to the mall or to some kind of fair. What do? You look here, look there, get excited, right? So things take our attention. So it is called nowadays they call it as limbic engagement. So your limbic system, that is the rat brain inside us, it's a small brain around hypothalamus and all that. So that limbic system is glued through the sense stimuli to pleasure and pain. Avoidance of pain, seeking of pleasure. So this is what it is glued to. So that's what the rat is about, the rat inside us. So in this context, I will tell a small story. So they did an experiment with rats or rat. They put the rat in a cage and they left two levers. One lever, if it presses, it will drop food. They put some electrodes in the brain of the rat, and another lever, if it presses, it will stimulate that electrode and give the rat a sexual excitement. So the rat will feel some pleasure or excitement. One of that. I don't know exactly what, but yeah. So sometimes it pressed this, it got food. So one day it accidentally pressed the other one. And it got excited. Then some other time food. So the more times it pressed it, it got excited. It learned that it takes some time for the rat to learn. After some time, it learned that this one means sensory excitement and this one means food. The sensory excitement was hooking the rat's mind so much, the bhoga buddhi it is called. Right? It kept on pressing only that lever for sensory excitement. So till that excitement subsides, it waits for the next urge to arrive, presses that. It subsides, waits for the next urge to arise, presses that. Kept on doing that and forgot to eat food. Addiction. And then after some time, out of starvation and too much of nervous tension, the rat died. So this is the actual research that really happened, clinical research. So now if you really think about it, we are all inside this disease to some extent. We always, every time when we prioritize a comfort or a pleasure over what is actually relevant, we are being that rat in a small way. It is the same rat inside it. The same circuit that controls the rat is inside that. And over that rat brain, we have developed a bigger human brain. Then prefrontal cortex and all that they say, right? Discrimination and all that comes. So, without the viveka and without the ability to exercise the choice over one's natural. But the meaningfulness of being a human comes only when we are able to rise above the natural mind. Until then, there is no difference between animal and us. This is the only thing, because if you are talking about abilities, animals have fantastic abilities. When Kanchi Shankaracharya went to Kashi, they wanted to tease him. They said, "What you are telling? You are Jagat Guru, Jagat Guru. What Jagat Guru? What is the meaning of Jagat Guru?" And he says, "It means the entire Jagat is my Guru." He gave that meaning. So I learned from everything, and everything is my Guru. And then he said, "Oh, really? So come tell me, how is this sparrow?" There was some bird there building a nest. It says, "How is the sparrow your Guru?" It says, without anybody teaching, just by itself, the sparrow is able to gather all the twigs and build a beautiful nest. No, it's like a fantastic architect, and it has that special sense. And it knows exactly when to start building a nest, where to build the nest, and it has that intelligence. Phenomenal. I don't have that intelligence, but that bird has that intelligence. So I bow down to that superiority of the bird having that intelligence, that superiority in intelligence that the bird had. I bow down to that, the superiority in skill. So, with respect to that, the bird is my guru, he says. So, like that, we see in nature, the animal world surpasses us in performance, in ability for perception, sensory based perception. They surpass us almost, they beat us down everywhere. In every domain, they beat us. Smell, your smell and my smell is nothing when compared to a dog smell. That's why we are using a dog in the customs. Running, movement. Man is one of the slowest animals on the planet. You take anything, hearing, bats can hear ultrasound and the normal sound. You and I cannot hear normal sound. Sight, they can see an entire spectrum. The cats can see aura, and we have to do pranayama and all kinds of meditation to see some vague aura. The cats can see aura. The dogs can see aura. The dogs can remember their past births. One yogi told me. There was one Swamiji, it's near Bangalore. There was one Swamiji. So one day, when I was just doing seva for him, he was just sitting there, and then he said, there was one dog running around, and he said, dogs remember past. He was just concentrating on the dog for some time, and then he said, dogs remember past. So I said, how are you selling Swamiji? Don't ask me how I know that's all. And then he went inside. So he's like that. It's a great tapasvi, that Swamiji. He's not there anymore. He attained Samadhi, but he was there. So this Swamiji told me. So it was amazing. So we have to do past life regression, pay some $500 and do some past life regression. And then everybody who does past life regression ends up as a Maharaja or a Maharani. So that is the level of, past life remembrance that we have. So if you take the animal kingdom, they beat us down in everything. But one point where we stand apart is the ability to exercise, ability to liberate our will to do and the will to be, ability to liberate our intellect from bondage to freedom in different levels, in different contexts. So this possibility of freedom is the only thing that we have. Freedom to do the right thing, even though it is not comfortable for us. A soldier is putting everything at stake and standing there in the border to protect us. Freedom to love a person, even though that person is doing us harm. We have the freedom to wish the best for that person. Only human can do that. Your own dog, Rottweiler, top well-trained dog, you don't feed that dog for a few days, it will bite and eat you up. Right? And if you torture it enough and also it will not. The animals cannot love someone who does harm for them. Animals, you may think, how come the dog is so loyal? No, because it is conditioned like that. Even though the owner is abusive, somewhere the dog is believing he is my protection and he is my mate and he is my team. That's why it is doing. Moment that is challenged, the dog will finish him. Right. So the same applies for any animal. It's cat, we don't have to say cats are horrible animals, it's totally selfish. Okay, they are nice in their own way, but I'm just telling you, comparing with all the dog people abuse this about the cat, right? So it's with animals. But now somebody hates you and somebody does you all the harm. Only a human can sit and think and pray, oh God, let that person have the right state of mind. Let that person evolve out of the hatred. Let that person live well. Only we can do that. Animals can't do that. So that power, that is freedom. Freedom to do the right thing. Freedom to love. Freedom to keep the mind silent. Now, in our context, freedom to not seek an object. Freedom to not allow my sense faculty to dwell upon an object, even though there is an attraction towards that object. What Dhamma is about. So I am attracted to that object. That object does invoke my attention, but I can still keep my sense faculty and my sense organ from not going in the direction. Famous example we hear from Swami Vivekananda's life, that the test that I did for him, that he said Vivekananda wanted him to accept him as his disciple, and Vivekananda, Swami Ramakrishna asked him to open his mouth and stretch his tongue, and he keeps a piece of jaggery on his tongue. Generally, he will start salivating. Swami Vivekananda's mouth went dry. That's what we hear. Right? So, the commitment to what he truly wants, the spiritual goal, the higher goal is much more important than all the pleasures. So his mind, inner commitment is so much, his sense faculty followed it, and even at the instinct level, the body did not seek to taste that jaggery. So that is what is Dhamma, where the sense organ first, and then following that, the sense faculty is taken away from the objects that distract or ask for attention. So this is basically reversing the habit. The sense organs and the sense faculties are designed to go and seek experiences outside of the objects, both outside objects and inner objects. In imagination, you have been missing a Mysore Pak. So you would say you want a Mysore Pak, you remember the last time you had a Mysore Pak. So the mind manufactures inside a Mysore Pak, and then it takes the sensation from the memory, and then you start salivating. From the memory, the sense can get excited. So in a dream, you are experiencing in the dream. Then you wake up, wow, in the dream that halwa was tasting so good. In the dream, I heard such a beautiful music, right? So now, both external and internal, basically using the sense faculty and the sense organ to dwell upon the object is what is the habit. That is what they are programmed for. So we are creating a discipline to deprogram them and to create a new neural pathway and to turn them around and get them back to their source of origin. Wherever the sense faculties are getting activated from, the sense faculties excitement is calmed down and resolved back into the seats in the brain. The nerves and the neural networks connected to the sense faculties will not get excited. If you put the person's brain on an MRI, when the real Shama Dhamma is happening, the excitement of the senses, those things will not be lit up. It's supposed to be like that. We can even test it. So from the definition, and when Shama is happening, the brain should not light up. The prefrontal cortex will light up, and the brain behind connected to the sense faculties, the seat of the sight, the seat of hearing, or whatever is associated with that object should not light up. So they do this test in psychology. They do this test. They put a screen and then they flash an object. Then they see how your brain is responding. So if a person likes, usually is used to having coffee the whole day, you don't give him coffee and you make him sit there. And then you flash a nice espresso with all the sound of coffee pouring, right? The screen. And in the brain, you wire up the brain. The person is practicing Shama, has good mastery of Shama. That coffee's presence will not excite the brain. It will it will be minimal. Whatever is the brain state, probably there will be more lighting up of the prefrontal cortex because he is exercising the discrimination and the choice. And then the pleasure seeking of the mind that seeks pleasure, the areas of the brain associated with seeking pleasure, associated with the coffee, should not get excited. And probably that some of the dopamine receptors may light up because of the artha, the indriya vishaya artha, that is the purpose our sense faculty reaches that object. The coffee gives a certain sensation. So the memory of the sensation will be there. So that will light up not in a very bright manner. It will light up and then it will go down. This is my hypothesis. So if somebody is a neuropsychology researcher, they can try this out. So try some yoga techniques and practice the discipline of shamadama and go and put yourself on a brain MRI and see how it works. You can try that. It can be somebody's PhD program. So these things are real-time experience. Real-time, we can experience complete withdrawal of the senses. So first comes not letting my sense organ dwell upon the object. Keeping the sense organ free from external stimulation. That's what it is. So first that. Then there will be inner excitement. I am control. Then it becomes like very artificial control. Like in Bhagavad Gita, he says a person who is sitting in the meditation posture, but his mind and sense organs are constantly agitated and they are seeking excitement. That person is a hypocrite. So that person should not meditate, should come and do karma yoga. It is there, right? For example. So why? Because the mind needs training on the field. Why? Karma yoga is recommended for a person not ready for meditation. Is because the indriyas, the shamadama, etc., are cultivated here in our active life. It is not cultivated out in the cave. After we cultivate shama and dama and all that, then we are ready for meditating in a cave. But how do we cultivate? We cultivate it here in the world when the objects are present, when we are in a context where we have to prioritize what we want, like uparati, prioritization of what is essential and getting rid of what is not essential. So which was also samadhana. And so uparati, all this is talking about the same thing. It is the same thing from different angles, right? So in our everyday life, dhamma, right now we can do it in anything. I am doing my duty. I am doing some work, that is my duty. It's what I'm supposed to do. I am doing. While I am doing that, there are some cravings from inside. There is a need for a munchie, some snack. There is a need for some music. Or maybe, I want some other, something else, or some kind of a comfort, something we are seeking. So if I get busy doing all that, then, and sometimes, I like, this is one of the main problems in office. I heard that, they don't let them go into social media like Facebook or whatever. They're working on a project. In one window, Facebook is open. For old people, okay. For young people, Instagram, I don't know, whatever is open. Some entertainment window is open and the work window is open. They work here, they get a small gap, go there, come back, go there, come back. Then they play some games, come back, right? So when you're doing, then what happens? You are constantly feeding the sense. So then what happens? The work becomes an undesirable pressure. In the presence of so many things that the mind considers as pleasure. So in the presence of pleasure, duty becomes a pressure. So what we have to do is when we are practicing the discipline of dhamma and the shama, first dhamma, you cut all the pleasure and comfort distractions that are around your main task. You cut that and you say, this is an opportunity for me to do two things. One is to do this work well and more efficiently. And two, to use this opportunity to develop my ability or my freedom over my mind. So this is like a dynamic meditation context. My work, my duty becomes a dynamic meditation context. So there are three aspects to it. One, I choose the right course of action. based on what I am supposed to do, not based on my fancy. Swadharma Anushthanam. Then while I am doing that, I am trying to do it as well as possible and use that as a way of disciplining my mind. Then, not motivated by the result that I will enjoy, but motivated by the relevance of the process that I am supposed to do. My role clarity, motivated my role by my role clarity and my devotion to the role, and the entire act as an act of worship to, uh, to my Ishta Devata. And whatever result comes, I know that it comes as a prasad from my Ishta Devata, from my God, and I'm focused on the work. So the result is not motivating or discouraging me. The sense organs are free from physical distractions while I am on my job. And so I am using that as an opportunity to practice concentration. The work becomes a dynamic meditation. And I have chosen this work with the right motivation and with the right ability to exercise my choice over what is right and what is wrong. With a good, clear role clarity, I have chosen this course of action, which is understood as my Swadharma. All these three things, when this is going on, the Karma Yogi, when he's like that, then what happens? Because the sense faculties and the mind, for a very outward person, the one who is not yet trained in meditation and all that, for that person, senses are active, mind is active. So there is a tendency for the mind and the senses to go out. But what I am doing in Dhamma and Shama in an active life is I am channelizing this outward movement in the right direction. When I channelize this outward movement in the right direction, I am developing the discipline without internalize. So I am developing a kind of a relative Dhamma in the Shama where I am available for my goal. That is, in Dhamma is the sensory discipline. What is the backup for Dhamma? What helps me to sustain my Dhamma is Shama. The Shama is Manonigraha, or control of the mind. How? Control of the mind through goal clarity and devotion to the goal. See, by how? By seeing the defect in all the distractions. Whatever thing is distracting me from my goal, I sit and think and meditate and really think and probably even put it down on paper, the negative consequences of those distractions. Dosha means the defects. There are inherent defects. For Vedanta, basically all pleasures and all indriya sukha and all the comforts and pleasures are basically a source of sorrow and source of addiction. It's a limitation. The actual meaning is that we'll come to that. We are not doing that. But for Karma Yogi, two, by going behind a pleasure or a distraction, one, I am compromising my Swadharma. And two, I am reducing my ability, I am increasing my dependency and I am reducing my ability of choice. And three, I am getting carried away, and eventually this will pull me into adharma and it will cloud my sense of swadharma, and I may not even be conscious of what is my dharma anymore. Like how Duryodhana said in Mahabharata, he said, no, I know what is dharma, I know what is adharma. I know what is dharma, but I'm not able to do it. I know what is adharma, but I'm not able to stop myself from doing it. He will end up there. That's how an asura is created, because an asura is somebody who always prioritizes personal wish over what is appropriate. I want this, I like this. The current feel good spirituality will only breed asuras. The current feel good spirituality, which is devoid of Shastra and which is devoid of Sampradaya and the Guru's guidance and all that, everybody trying to do whatever they feel good about. You can say it is better, at least they're doing some meditation, is better than nothing. No. Doing meditation at the cost of Swadharma is a problem. That's a very clearly mentioned. So unless the mind is systematically prepared for meditation, one must not push oneself into meditation, or all the lifestyle choices that are meant for a more mature mind should not be forced upon a less mature mind, where the less mature mind could be made mature by the right measures. Right? So instead of following the right measures described by the, that are recommended by the Shastra, one, tries to go for whatever fits one's comfort zone. This is exactly why one needs a guru, because the guru is constantly going to challenge our comfort zone. He's going to say, no, we think that this is very nice, but then he will come and tell you, no, this is not okay, do that. He will exactly, somehow this guru seems to have an intuition of exactly what I don't want to do. So this guru will come and tell me, do that. And then, then when you do that, we see that how it helps us in our maturity. And also there will be a reason. The guru is not simply mad to torture us, he sees where is our weakness and where we are going astray, and he brings us back. So we have an external point of reference. We have a Shastra, we have the Guru. Then what happens? It becomes an external checkpoint where it's not, we are creating a situation where we are not allowed to be carried away by our likes and dislikes and our habit patterns. They don't carry us away. It provides a context. So because of the Shraddha and Samadhana and Uparati and all that, it becomes easy to practice Shamadana. So Dhamma, what we do is, or we clear all the distractions, and then we feel the urge. So what do we do with the urge? The mind is seeking the object. I cut off the sense level, but behind the senses, through the sense faculties, the mind wants that. Mind wants that sensation. So you feel the desire. Then what do? You go with the desire and visualize that enjoyment. And while you are visualizing the enjoyment, think about all the problems that are associated with that enjoyment. A simple thing, it's easy for things like smoking and drinking because everybody knows it's bad. But how would you say that for things that are considered not bad, but they are nice? There are a lot of things, each one can think whatever is relevant for them. There are things that are nice, but they are not bad for you. They are nice. There's nothing wrong. Come on. What's wrong in that, we may say. Right? So those kind of things. So those kind of things, they don't generate guilt, but eventually they generate dependency. Psychological dependency. Then we come to Uparati, where the mind is not psychologically dependent on external objects. So we come there. Why? It creates psychological dependency, and exactly when you want it, it will not be available. The more you are dependent on an external stimuli or a pleasure, the more we will suffer when we lose it. And maintaining that sensation or the pleasure or maintaining contact with that object becomes a chore. Then there is a whole ecosystem associated with every pleasure. So you have to sustain all the factors in that ecosystem that helps you to enjoy that pleasure. Then that becomes another struggle. Right? Now, so an example like this, we meditate on the defects of those non-guilty pleasures. It's very easy to contemplate on the problem. I'm talking about non-guilty nice things of life, which are a distraction, which gradually breed dependency inside us. It's like they just eat up your your RAM, like they say for the computer. They eat up your mental resources gradually, and suddenly one fine morning you see that you don't like what you have to do, and you want to take a break or you want to go away. You will feel like you want to neglect your duties and you want to be more involved in those things, and you want to create time and space for those enjoyments, and suddenly you will feel that the life is not nice anymore. Like what they call as midlife crisis. The midlife crisis comes because of that. Slowly that creeps in, and then it takes over, and you are not, things that are okay before are not nice anymore. Because things starting to lose meaning. What you're doing starting to lose meaning because it's not exciting you anymore. Why it's not exciting me anymore? Because while I was doing that, I was doing it like a pressure, while I was indulging in all the non-guilty pleasures, which were eating up my psychic resource, and suddenly I'm not available for what I have to do. Around 40, 45, midlife crisis, which is exactly this. So we don't notice that it comes, it creeps inside you slowly. So what we have to do, we can meditate on the defect of all these non-guilty pleasures, and also think deeply and probably write down they say this pros and cons, right? Like that, we write down the pros of our goal, of staying on track and pursuing our goal and our long-term meaningful goal, or whatever is our Swadharma, the advantages of Swadharma and the disadvantages of the distractions. The sensory pleasure distractions, meditate on the disadvantages, and meditate on the advantage of the sticking to your Swadharma and doing things well. And gradually develop all the other and all the other methods that we use to develop a sattvic mind. So when we do that, we are processing the inner pressure. We are cutting off at the physical level, at the sense organ level, we are cutting off the stimuli, sense stimuli, and we are working with the desire. We cut off the stimuli and we work with the urge, sensory urge, the urge to experience. It's not even desire, it's a little more focused. It's more in the vital level or the prana level, the indriya level, where we are learning to meditate on the defects of the indulgence and the relevance of the goal, and slowly the background settles on the goal. Now, this whole practice is not for our conscious personality. It is for the whole Samadhamadi Shakka Sampati, the sixfold inner wealth. Why is it called inner wealth? Because when we develop this inner wealth, the background noise becomes less. When I am on a track, when I am pursuing a goal, an objective, both spiritual, material, whatever, something from the background carries me away in different levels. So now today in Shamadama, we are talking about the sensory indulgence level. Right? Then there is so many other levels, the emotional level and ego level. So now the sensory indulgence level, the background. So the whole Shamadhamadi and the 6 inner assets is about learning to create an inner environment that does not create a pressure when my conscious mind, consciously, when I am devoted to a task, the inner environment does not create a contrary pressure and try to pull me away. It does not create conflict. So the inner conflict and the dissonance becomes minimal and my concentration becomes natural. So that is what is the whole point. It is not a struggle anymore. To do what I have to do becomes less and less of a struggle. And probably this becomes more of a pleasure than the distractions. If you see very trained, anybody who is very trained in a discipline, like a trained in music, very well trained and disciplined in athletics or any martial arts, things like that, they get a high from that focus. So they're very rooted because they have enjoyed how it is to be in that extreme focus and the dedication and the whole system coming together for that whatever they are doing for their sport or their talent. They have enjoyed it. So until they get to the point, they know how to go towards it. So they cut all the distractions and create the environment, and then they practice. They keep on sustaining the effort. And then when that high kicks in and the synchronicity and the brain coherence and the mind coherence kicks in, they get that complete integral involvement in that, and that gives a very high sense of a very high sense of elevated kind of joy, a more lasting and a more enduring kind of happiness, at the end of which one feels a more enduring kind of satisfaction and meaningfulness and focus. So that's what comes. That is the pleasure that you get from dharma. That is a kind of a higher, it's kind of a spiritual pleasure. That's more meaningful and it takes us closer. That's a kind of a sattvic pleasure. So from rajasic pleasure that comes from distractions and indulgence, when we do shamadama, the mind is trained to involve and the mind is trained and available for the sattvic pleasure that comes from meditation, from tapasya, from swadharma anushthanam and all that, doing your duty and being devoted to the calling in an attitude of devotion to the Lord. So all this sattvic pleasure starts predominating. We start tasting that. Once you start tasting that, these little pleasures of the senses, they're going to mean nothing. Right? So when we begin, we need a little bit of trust. We need a little bit of faith. We need a little bit of trust so that we don't that keeps us going. You need to trust the tradition. We say a lot of people who are experienced say, man, they say, just trust me, just go through this, you're going to feel great at the end. Like a mentor in a company or something that tells you. Like that, all the gurus and the Shastra, you can treat them like a map. They say you're going to go there. It's going to be difficult at this point. After this point, you feel like this is going to get easier. And after that, when you really see that is going to be more important and pleasurable and wonderful when compared to this, just stay on the course. They keep motivating. Satsanga, that is the beauty of satsanga. Keeps motivating you, and then you go. And then suddenly you see when the sattva component, the ratio of sattva it crosses a certain critical level. You suddenly see what is right makes much more sense and it becomes brighter. And our whole system seeks what is right so naturally, like how before our system, all our senses and everything was seeking the distraction, was seeking the pleasure, was seeking the comfort at the cost of what is meaningful. The whole situation will reverse now. You will seek what is meaningful, you will seek what is right, you will seek what is relevant, and we will seek what is righteous with a zeal and with love and pleasure, and we will derive more satisfaction and more lasting happiness from this, from being right and being on the right track, and from the sattvic spiritual experience of being completely devoted to the righteous goal. I'm always qualifying righteous goal. The goal has to be according to Dharma. Any goal, no. I will be the best pickpocket in time would become a tamasic goal because it is not connected with virtue. A sattvic goal is a goal that is connected with our Swadharma, that is approved by the Shastra, that is legal and that is good for everybody, and it is, you feel righteous about. So that kind of the right goal, pursuing the right goal and being devoted to that, and the discipline becomes an enjoyment. So that's what we get as a result of Dhamma and Nishna. These go together. It is not enough to simply control ourselves, but it is very important to process the inner urge and the compulsion that we have towards those objects. We need to process that so that the mind, the background mind, stops seeking those objects. And the sense faculties are not running towards an object. When you're very concentrated on something, even something that you like very much, when somebody brings, when you're really seeing the importance. So the mind has to see the importance. So we have to train the mind to see how this is less important and how what I have to do is more important. So when we train the mind like that in the background, the Shama develops. The mind is devoted to the goal naturally, and the sense faculties are not creating inner pressure, and it becomes easy for focus and concentration to be more natural without conflict. So that's what is Shamadama in practice. But originally, the Shamadama in the Shastra is like this. All sensory experience and all worldly experience are trouble. Dukkameva sarvam vivekanaha. Because everything is associated with constant change. Because every sensory experience or external object-oriented experience, Vishaya Sukha, they say, the pleasure that comes from enjoying temporary things. You know what they include in the temporary things? In the temporary things, not only our normal earthly pleasures like a mango is included. In the temporary things, attaining position. What? They say, according to the our Vaidika Sampradaya's cosmic understanding, the way we understand the cosmic hierarchy, spiritual universe, the understanding of the spiritual universe, there are hierarchy of beings. Manushya, man, then Manushya Gandharva, Gandharva, Deva Gandharva, then Pitrus, and then you have the Surya Mandala, Chandra Mandala, Surya Mandala, and you have all the different level of devatas in different areas. And then you have the Brahma Loka. So where the creator Brahmaji is there, the Chaturmukha Brahma we say. So that is supposed to be the highest order of being. The most evolved form of a manifest being is Brahmaji, and that dimension, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. And that Brahma Loka, they say. By discipline and the power of yoga and tapasya, one can become a Brahma. Brahma is a position. A jiva or an individual who has attained a very high level of spiritual excellence through different practices it becomes a Brahma for a creation cycle. So one Brahma is there. After that Brahma's lifespan is over, next Brahma comes. It goes on like that. Okay, that's what our scriptures say. So here, so why? Because it is called Anushravika Vishaya. That is, there are seen things, the things that we see, and then there are unseen things that are promised by the scripture. There are things that are promised by, like uh, things that are advertised. That is a little more for the people who have Shraddha in the Shastra. When the scripture says, you will get this, you will get that, and there is a huge description about heaven and what rituals you should do and what will happen to you after death. Because after death is a huge uncertainty. So the uncertainty after death is taken care by the Karmakanda of the scripture, which makes sure that there is a certain kind of a certainty after your death, and it gives you a map. If you do these things, after your death, this trajectory, this path is certain. If you do Upasana, you will go in the path of light. If you do Karmakanda, all the rituals and everything, and then you will go in the Pitru Marga. After that, you have Devayana, Pitrayana. There are so many instances where it is given. And then it tell you what happens to you after this level, what happens to you after this level. If you do this kind of tapasya, what happens to you? All that is there in the Karma Kanda and the Upasana Kanda of the Veda. So when we read all those things, one may get interested in. So what Shastra says is, Drishta Anushravika Vishaya, things that you hear from the Shruti, from the Shastra, you should see those things, even the highest achievement, highest time-bound achievement that is based on spiritual effort, which is becoming a Brahmaji, that is to be seen as pain. You must be able to have, that's where Vairagya comes, definition of Vairagya. So these things are nothing. These small earthly pleasures are nothing. The celestial pleasures are much more than the earthly pleasures. They say, in Taittiriya Upanishad, you have the ladder of pleasure, how much joy one can enjoy. So he says, there is a young person who is very well read, who is very sensible, who is of a very sound mind. The entire wealth of the earth belongs to him. And whatever he wants is left at his feet. That person, what is the joy that that person will enjoy? Consider that as one unit of happiness. 100 times that will be the unit of happiness of a Manushya Gandharva, then Deva Gandharva, like that goes. It comes in Anandavalli in Taittiriya Upanishad. See, when you see that, is that, man, I'm working for some, to get one car, one motorbike, one house. I'm working for, maybe some relationship. And these are nothing. They are telling that if you are the owner of all the wealth of the world, not even the richest person, you are the king, you are earth king. When you are that is one unit of human happiness. These celestials are having multiple times of that happiness just by the fact of being, just by the fact of being a Manushya Gandharva, that person will enjoy so much. Because his prakriti, the body and his system is designed for pleasure. Our system is designed for pleasure up to a certain point. Because the experiential pleasure depends on our nervous system. So if our nervous system is weak, we cannot enjoy pleasure. That is why any pleasure that you enjoy as a youth, it becomes less. You need much more stimulus. The more and more you put stimulus for the pleasure, you become dull. The same faculties that are meant for enjoying the pleasure becomes dull. Then you need much more stimulus to enjoy the same pleasure. And when you give more stimulus, your nervous system becomes weak. Your ability to enjoy the pleasure becomes weak. So as a celestial being, you don't have all this problem. So the joy that you can enjoy is much more. The spectrum of joy that you can enjoy is much more. So experiential happiness, if you see, human birth is not a great thing. So then you say, oh, then this is nothing. So let me invest my human potential and my birth to get all those higher births. So that is the basic motivation behind karma kanda. Kamya karma, they say. They do all those different rituals and different upasana, different tantric practices, spiritual practices, so that after death, they are able to get certain things. Or while they are alive, they are able to enhance, they're able to break through the natural limitation and enjoy a more exalted kind of a pleasure. Kundalini, ecstasy, all this comes under this. This is all prakriti or the body dependent pleasures. We will discuss more of this when we talk about Vairagya in the next class. But so here, so we understand the Shastra says, look at the inherent defect in all the sense-based experiences in one shot. And make the mind settle down on moksha as the only goal. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeka gurunandana. If you are of a very cultivated intellect and understanding, you will have only one goal. Across all situations in life, you will have only one goal, which is liberation. No other goal will make sense to you. Mukshitva, it is called, right? So you have only one goal, ekagrata, that you have that one pointed, goal-oriented mind, moksha. There is no other goal. So you are not interested in any other excitement. You are not curious about stuff. You are not, the sky can become the earth, the sun can come down, or the earth can go up. You are not bothered. You are focused only on moksha. And whatever is useful for moksha, you are interested in that. The rest, you are ruthlessly, you don't care for. So, like that, a person trains oneself. So that becomes, that's how Shama is said. Shama is goal clarity, means the goal here is moksha. So we are adapting that for goal as Swadharma. So using the Swadharma for a Karma Yogi, a person who may not understand moksha completely yet, but somehow she sees this is important. The higher spiritual purpose is important. So we use the Shamadama and the sixfold inner asset. We cultivate the inner asset using our everyday context, using our everyday situation, in order to prepare us and purify our mind and to develop that human ability of choice. That's choice where we free our spirit from the clutches of the flesh and we free our spirit to be available for the higher purposes, and we free our intellect to be able to understand the higher and the finer goals and the higher goals of life. And slowly we become more available for the spiritual reality by freeing ourselves from the mundane illusion. So this is what Samadama is about, as adaptation. But the original goal of Samadama is to prepare the mind to be ready to listen to the Shastra, which gives you jnana, which is moksha. That is the main purpose of that. But we are creating a workable adaptation based on our practical limitations and based on the limited understanding that we have as people who are struggling to pursue even goals that we understand. So why to go for a goal that we don't understand? Even for the goals that we understand, this practice of Shamadama is very helpful so that we are able to choose the right goal and work with the right attitude and the skill set in devotion to that goal and with the right kind of detachment towards the result, so that our mind becomes more and more sattvic and free from compulsions. Life becomes less of a struggle, and the right track and the righteous life becomes a lesson. Right? So now with that, we will finish the class. And usually nobody asks questions, so I'm not asking you to ask any questions. If you have any questions, please write in the comments or please send it to Mayaji. Right? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Om Shanti 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 Om Tatsate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We shall meet tomorrow. Thank you.